Be working nice. There we go. Yeah, okay, we are live.
Cool, man. Hey, first of all, I just want to commend you on all the amazing things you're doing. The new studio down in LA, and you know, seeing your vision through, and all the success you're having, and more importantly, like you know, all the help that you're putting out there, and all the wisdom. It's really awesome.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's definitely been a long time coming, but it's cool to see it finally blowing up, and I'm really excited to like kick that studio into high gear once everything's totally finished.
Yeah, man, it's really exciting. So yeah, so a little bit about me. I actually started making music about 8 or 9 years ago, and I what happened is that we had a baby, and then we had another one.
Congratulations!
And, yeah, so I was able, unfortunately, had to put a lot of that on the back burner, unfortunately, and I ended up, you know, focusing on getting my family started, and my my career was, you know, taking up a lot of my time too. And while I was doing it, at first I was really I just started to get a little momentum going with the music stuff. I was finishing tracks. I started to like a few of them. You know, I was having a lot of fun. And so once the family got started, I always had it gnawing in the back of me. I was just thinking about music. I wanted to do more music, and I was getting really frustrated because I wasn't able to do it in any, you know, consistent way. So fast forward to today, like my girls are older, so like all that's normalized. And my career is at in a really good spot right now, where I don't necessarily have to work every day, and I'm still bringing a solid income in, so I have more time. So, you know, I'm dusting off the old laptop and trying to get back into it. So I've just, you know, jumped into the dojo just because, you know, the recipes and that stuff are good starting points. So, you know, have a bunch of unfinished shit on my hard drive, but I'm really want to get into the habit of finishing things and get that momentum going. But that's kind of my biography here.
Okay. Do you have any MP3s or anything that I can check out? Because I find it much easier to diagnose what people actually need by listening to music or going.
Okay. Should I link it in the chat, or Dropbox?
Chat there, and I'll check it out. And then I gotta go just get. Okay, I got my headphones. I'll be right back. I think it left. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, here I close the door. Yeah, I'm just I'm at my parents' house. My brother got married, so I'm visiting my family in Canada, which is good because my main computer is in the shop yet again. So it's yeah, I think I'm actually gonna build a PC, man. I'm jumping ship.
Yeah, I was over at a friend's studio the other day, and they built a Hackintosh, and seemed to be running pretty well.
Yeah, I just like, it's just endless issues with Apple now, man. Nothing works. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Bear with me a sec. So let's see. Copy Dropbox link into the chat.
Cool. So, hey, have you been through that? You know about the like start here document that has everything linked in it, and the sample library and everything in the dojo?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
I actually did something really I have a kind of a, it's good because I'm kind of hitting the restart button, and there's a link, and then let me do another one. I did something stupid in all that time that sorry, I'm not a very good multitasker here.
All good. Yeah, I can't type and talk at the same time. It all just comes out. I'm amazed when I see there's some people who can like play the MPC and rap at the same time, and I'm like, how?
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So I sent a couple links in the chat. I don't know.
Cushy, nice. That's a good type. It just sounds fun. Cool. Yeah, I'm speccing out PCs right now, man. I think.
Yeah.
Pretty. I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. I thought I was going to be Apple till the day I die, but.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I work on PCs on work all day, and they've gotten pretty fast and solid, obviously. And
yeah, man.
I was looking for my SoundCloud here real quick.
Okay, cool.
Not that I have anything really useful on there, but we'll see.
Well, here, why don't I start by checking out these tracks.
And also, so you know, I have some questions too that might.
Oh yeah, totally.
Be useful.
All right. All right. So, well, do you want to do questions first, or should I listen to these tracks first?
Yeah. Let me pull my questions here.
Okay, let's do questions first. Then I'll take the headphones off.
Let me go back to what it was. I had them written down here.
Cool. Well, the more organized you are, the more you can get out of these sessions. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Some of them are like more technical, and some of them are just more kind of broad, encompassing. So
I'll ask away.
Okay, so you know, one of the stuff that I like to listen to when I'm not listening to electronic music. Well, you know, some of the artists I like a lot. I like Lauren a lot, and like his
amazing. I love
and his kind of his protege Delore. I don't know if you're familiar with Delore's music.
No.
But yeah, so Lauren kind of mixes and masters all his stuff, but they have this aesthetic, right? Like they create an environment with like reverbs and like I don't know, like I just don't know how to create like an environment and because what I want to do, like kind of my vision is I like creepy occult type stuff where like if someone were to close their eyes, they would kind of see themselves in like a chamber where someone's doing like a ritual and it's damp and dark and sinister, and I just don't even know where to start to achieve that kind of vibe. I think I need to figure out what scales I need to work in, maybe like Phrygian or Locrian or something like that. But
really helps. That semitone above the root is just so fucking like foreign sounding in Western music, you know?
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess that's pretty nebulous, but that's kind of the direction I want to go, and I'm struggling at how to achieve those kind of.
One of the things that stands out to me about Lauren's music is, I don't know if he's using analog synths. It certainly sounds like he's using analog synths. But a lot of the synths that he uses, the actual like tone of the synthesizers is really, really rich, you know?
Yeah.
And then there's also a lot of like instability in the pitch. Right? And if you want to make more unstable things, hang on, let's see communication about this. Yeah, I did an ill communication. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I went to Dave Smith Instruments. They're like one of the best synthesizer companies. And one of my very, very good friends works there designing synthesizers. So he knows like FKA Twigs and Aphex Twin and stuff. And like I got to meet Aphex Twin. It was fucking insane. Anyway, I went and hung out with him at the Dave Smith Instruments headquarters. And he helped me to, like I was asking him, like, you know, what makes synths sound analog and what can you do to make your patches sound more analog? And he gave me a little breakdown using the Pro 2, which is one of their, like, you know, I mean, arguably their kind of flagship mono synth at Dave Smith. And he showed me that there's basically two things that you can do that will make any synth sound more analog. And you can do this in like Serum or whatever, right? And basically one of them is having a long, slow LFO that modulates the pitch just a little. That modulates the master pitch. So you get a little bit of drift on the master pitch, right? So that not only is the oscillator slightly out of tune, but it's always moving just a little bit. And you get that like moody, like Boards of Canada, Lorne, Aphex Twin sound from that. And then another thing that you can do to make your synth sound more analog is you can take white noise and modulate the pitch ever so slightly with white noise. And if you have, and in Serum, like you can use the noise as a modulation source, actually, which is very, very cool. I do a lot of audio rate amplitude modulation, and if you check out the weekly download that I did about unusual subs, there's this sub that you can make where if you put like white noise or any other noise source over top of an over top of a sub, and then you amplitude modulate it with an LFO essentially that is at an audio rate. So I'll have the sub, and then I'll put an LFO that's like maybe an octave below the sub that is doing the volume on whatever the noise is that you're layering over top. You can take something that's not tuned like white noise, and it will flicker at a rate that is an octave below the root of the sub. And here, I'll show you what that sounds like. Just a moment. So I did this track called Blackout. I mean, I've been doing it on pretty much all my tracks. But here, I'll open this in VLC. So I can change the studio. So this bass patch, so the bass patch in this track was made by layering a light bulb, like a shorting out light bulb that was going like. So we layered that over a sub and amplitude modulated it in the sampler. And this technique is covered in the weekly download Unusual Subs.
Drop the bass heavy, make all the lights flicker. Blackout, 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 blackout.
Right? So that technique is using in the sampler, in the Ableton sampler, you can use the oscillator in the sampler to perform either frequency modulation or amplitude modulation. And then there's this coarse tuning where you can pop it down octaves below the root of whatever MIDI note's coming in. So that's just FYI. But in Serum, you can also use the noise oscillator in Serum to perform modulation to like the master pitch, for example. But if you take a single cycle waveform at like a C, and you can load that waveform into the noise oscillator in Serum and get audio rate LFOs when the Serum LFOs do not actually go to that like frequency. So now AU5 audio rate. If I can find this tutorial, AU5 yeah, here's I think okay, so here's a video of Kermode showing the same technique, I think. But basically you can load a single cycle waveform into the noise source in Serum and use that as an LFO. But for you to do this, if you just use the normal white noise and put it to the master tuning, just like 1 or 2, you know, just a tiny, tiny bit, and then put a really slow LFO to the master pitch, just a tiny bit, you can get that analog kind of Boards of Canada style synth feel. And so that's covered in that that weekly download video, or sorry, that ill communication video that I linked in the chat. But definitely start exploring using noise as a modulation source, because you can get like really you can get like this kind of scribbly, glitchy brokenness without actually applying any distortion, just by using the noise as a modulation source. But yeah, definitely start exploring noise as a modulation source, both in the sampler and in Serum. And then also these long, slow LFOs that do not re-trigger going to the pitch. They'll give you that kind of like bent sort of a sound. Now, in terms of making your sounds sound more physical, right? I really recommend exploring tape saturation. And there's, I think there's probably some freeware tape saturation ones. I use the Universal Audio ones, but they're like heinously expensive. I don't really recommend them unless you have some money to burn. But there are tape, tape emulations that you can get, and the tape saturation, and then also the SSL bus compressor. There's this hardware compressor that SSL make, the SSL-G compressor. And I know there's a UAD model of it. I think there's a Waves model of it, but it's the closest thing I can find to a make it better button. Right? But tape saturation and the SSL-G compressor, they just have this, there's something about those that just make everything sound better.
Okay, cool.
And I
actually have I just got a UAD sound card, so I have access to this. Thanks.
Okay, I recommend the Oxide tape, the Studer tape, and the SSL-G compressor in UAD. So yeah, I just don't encourage people to go down the UAD rabbit hole unless they're ready to do it, because fuck me, it's expensive.
I know they had a coupon where you could get some plugins with the sound card, so that's one of my stupid mistakes. So like over the last few years, I've actually bought a bunch of gear that I don't know how to use. So
what do you have?
Well, I have like a Eurorack system.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I just sample that, and sometimes it's gold, and sometimes it's shit.
Yeah, that's normally what I do.
Pick the corn out of the shit.
Long recordings.
I have a Dave Smith Oberheim.
No!
Synthesizer, yeah.
Dude, that thing sounds insane. The Reeses you can get out of that are fucking wild.
Yeah.
Take two saw waves and detune them like quarter fucking semitone each, and you get the nastiest bass you can possibly fucking make.
Yeah, it's nice. I always like John Carpenter's music.
Yeah, he's great. I just watched In the Mouth of Madness last night, actually.
Yeah, so I was always inspired by that stuff, and I saw he had all these Oberheims and stuff, so I like that sound, and I went to the synth store and played around on it. I got Machina, and I got an Electron.
Use the frequency shifter. The Machina frequency shifter is magic. I use it all the time.
I love Machina. There's so many things I like about it. Like, I like the immediacy of it, like the workflow on it. It vibes with me. I like being able to pull up Reactor and all that stuff on it. And
I use it all the time. I love it.
And I like the presets for like jump off points, because you can load up like laser bass and razor and all that shit on there. But then where I struggle is getting that idea into live. But I saw your stemmer thing, so that looks like that might help me.
Yeah, that helps. But honestly, I just go into my patterns and just drag them into Ableton. I don't even run it inside of Ableton. I'll do my phase one in Machine, and then like just drag everything in as stems.
I don't like using Machine inside of Ableton.
No,
I like
awkward.
using it standalone and then stemming it out, and then
if you want any training with Machine or Machina, depending on how you want to say it, Spiderhound is a pretty active user. So is Snappy Home Fry, and so is Nintendo. All those guys use Machine.
Okay. So I like that. I like it a lot. Obviously, I have Ableton. I have Push with Ableton, and a bunch of software synthesizers, and what else do I got? I got some like guitar pedals, and
those are all very good gear purchases, man.
Yeah, I also have an old synthesizer called a Waldorf Microwave.
Oh, those are great. I used to have the Micro Q for years. I sold it eventually, but yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, but it's just they're almost distractions in a way. Because I picked them up here and there, and then I'll find myself not working on music, so I'm trying to figure out how to fucking work this.
Yeah,
I mean,
I find like the best thing you can do is just make like recordings that are about 5 minutes long, where you just like, make 5 minutes of crazy bass noises, or
yeah,
like make 5 minutes of lasers or whatever, and then take those recordings and put them into a drum rack. And there's a weekly download that I did called Sampling Modular Sounds.
okay,
And basically, whether you're doing it in Machine or in Ableton, if you have a drum rack with just these 5 minute long recordings, you can make a pattern where like I'll make little runs of like 4 pads in the drum rack or 4 pads in Machine, where it'll be like, you'll have a bass forwards and then backwards and then time stretch and then frequency shifter. And you're like forwards, backwards, forwards, 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 backwards, time stretch, forwards, backwards, forwards, 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 backwards, pitch shift.
right.
And you can get like here, I'll show you in this track. Right, you can hear that that's like totally how all of that is sequenced in the drop, and you get like. So this is all drum rack sequencing.
Every single creature on this satellite, gentlemen, must die.
And that's just that's just all like, you just make a little family of 4 pads in the drum rack, and then your next phrase it's another 4 pads, and then your next phrase it's another 4 pads, and you can get these just super tight little bass riffs like that. I do it all the time.
That's cool. That would help me with one of my problems that's on my list of problems, is coming up with interesting like turnarounds and fills. But if you can find a weird gem in that sample where the pitch is doing something weird or it's wobbling or something,
or just applying LFO or pitch envelope in the sampler to that 1 pad.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome.
Because it's so much easier than automating it. Like, let's say you have a synthesizer and you're trying to like put a pitch stop, and then and you have to move like 4 lanes of automation over to try and rearrange it rhythmically. It just sucks, like it's awkward.
Yeah. Cool. That's gold right there. That's really helpful.
Okay, so all right. Well, that's really. I mean, yeah. Those are all good gear purchases, man.
Yeah, I just feel like sometimes it pulls me away from like making music, because I'm.
Yeah, I don't normally bust out the synths in the middle of a session unless I'm doing a preset shred.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a preset shred recipe, like let's say I'll like I've got my main groove sequence. Sometimes I'll find just like a one looping synth melody, and then I'll just like record 5 minutes long of that melody, just going through this patch, going through this patch, going through this patch, going through this patch. It'll basically load up a patch, fuck with all the knobs, change presets, fuck with all the knobs, change presets, fuck with all the knobs. And then when you have that long recording, you can do what's called slip editing.
What? What'd you? I glitched out for a sec. What'd you say about it? It's called what editing?
Slip editing.
Okay.
And if you have like a repetitive melody that's like a loop running through all these different presets, you can be like, okay, well, I know I want a variation for those last 2 notes. Then you just go in the clip field in Ableton and move it over by a even bar increment, and then you're always going to land on the same 2 notes every time the pattern repeats.
Oh,
so you can be like, oh, I want a different variation for those 2 notes, and then you just move the bar number over, and you get a different variation of those 2 notes.
Wow, that's great. Okay, cool. I just actually took a stab at that recipe a day ago, and I'm like halfway through a track using that approach.
Cool.
That's probably a good seg. Other tips on not being repetitive. I find my music's really repetitive. Like, even if I have a fill or turnarounds, I think maybe I need to just get better at some audio editing tricks, perhaps.
Yeah, well, like when you're working on a MIDI riff, right? Like a lot of people, they have this problem where they'll jam until they find like they get their synth patch perfect and they get the riff perfect, and they're like, great, perfect. But then you end up with these patterns where the riff is either there and looping or not there. And it's like, it's kind of awkward, especially if there's automation in your riff or whatever. It's kind of awkward to like rhythmically resequence it, right? So what I'll do is I'll treat, like, once I get the really, really nice sounding pattern where I'm happy with the patch, I'm happy with the mix, I'm happy with the pattern, then I'll sample that and then make new riffs where maybe it's like the first 3/16 notes looping for a bit and then a time stretch of the last note, and then like, you know, stuff like that. Or like, you know, the pattern will appear forwards and then each note is individually backwards for an edit or something like that, you know. And it really helps to, it's much easier to articulate the phrases when you're working on a piece of audio than it, like you know, getting the sound right and everything, it's easier in MIDI. But once the sound is right, don't treat that as an end. Treat that as the beginning of the audio editing stage, and then you can like experiment with different rhyme schemes and, like, you know, pitch shift. Like a lot of time, just taking the sample off of warp and pitching it up 12, so it's not just pitched up but also double time. So I do that a lot in this track. Right, I made this really kind of like crazy riff in the middle where it's generating with arpeggiators, but listen to most of the articulation and the rhyming and the variation. This pattern comes from audio. That's the one I'm talking about. All those little articulations and double ups and like pattern edits, that's all from audio editing.
Okay, cool. I guess that's just practice makes perfect, gets me there.
Yeah, so I'll get the riff. You get the riff in the pocket and then sample it and glitch it out, basically.
Okay. Putting a couple other.
Well, these are all great questions, man.
Yeah. Another thing that I like that I really want to maybe some height is, how do you get a like a cool snare? Like Lauren does cool snares, Sander EPROM does cool snares. I don't know. Do you have any advice for giving that character? They have like not overly complicated, but I don't know. It's not like the typical.
Yeah. Here, let me go into Ableton. I'll show you a kind of quick way to make interesting snare.
Because snares can be a real signature part of the track, right? Because
yeah. Whoa, down the rabbit hole. Whoa, down the rabbit hole.
The vortex.
God! Okay, sorry. I love doing that. Okay, so. One thing that I really like to do when I'm making snares, and I'll do this just in a drum rack. Okay, where's C3? I wish that there was a command where you could make a C3 note when you do that. Okay, so here's a pattern with a MIDI note coming in for snares. So I'll go 128 snare. 128, let's see, machine snares, great. Oh wait, C1, that's not what I want, that's what I want. Okay, so here's the snare. Okay, I want to find a real snappy one. There's that. cool. Okay, so there's the first one, right? Now, here, I'm going to group this. Okay. And then I'm going to get another, like a snap. Let's see if I have snaps. Do I have snaps? No. Okay. Like I said, I'm on my backup computer. I'll see if I have a clap. Do I have 128 claps? Yeah. Okay. So now I'm going to put this one in here. Alright, and then I'm going to get a MIDI pitch plugin to change my sound. So this is a snare and a clap at the same time. Here, I'll mute the snare. Oh, that's why it's a little quiet. Okay, cool. So you get a real sharp one, right? And then what you're going to do is create a double hit. Okay? So check this out. If you go into the MIDI effect and you get the note length, right?
Yeah.
So I want the first hit to be the clap and then the second hit to be a snare. So now if you take two note length plugins and you set the second one to trigger on note off, right? That means that you have this amount of milliseconds before the note triggers. Right? You see how it's a double? And then you right? Or,
wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so you can do that, and then if you pitch the fucking snare, right? So you get like a really pitched up snare after a clap.
Yeah.
And then sometimes like you can make it all like wet sounding by putting a filter on it. Never use the just normal Ableton filter. Always put it on some kind of an algorithm. Okay, let me put that.
Yeah, it gives it that wet donkey.
Yeah, you get like a kind of wet sound.
That's dope.
I sometimes will drive it too. But that trick with the note length,
Yeah, that's great.
that like, and if you listen to a lot of those trap snares that you're like, whoa, how are they doing that? Well, they have like a clap first, and then the snare happens like after the clap. And if you use the note length, you can really fine tune and get these like super juicy double hits.
Yeah.
And then also this is a really precise value in milliseconds, right? So then let's say you want this to totally end when that happens. This gives you a period before the volume comes down. So if I go like that, and then what is it here? 66 milliseconds. Let's go 66 milliseconds. Right? And then it's like a switch.
Yeah.
Actually, let's do it 50. Right? And, you know, and then here I'm going to go, get like, here, let's put the pitch plug in here and change this again. Yeah, there we go. It's some weird stereo thing happening. And you hear it as one sound, but it's actually two sounds.
Right. That's awesome.
If you have like if you have a pair of those, but yeah, the trick is to set the note length plugin to note off, and then the first note length, because I mean, if you take this off, this will just trigger at the end of the MIDI note, but you don't want to be relying on the length of this MIDI note. It's not precise enough. So I like to just have one that limits the length of the MIDI note and one that turns the note off into a trigger.
Yeah.
Right, and then you can get these really cool like layered double hits.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it helps to kind of take things a little bit off of the grid too, you know, like I find that I like the next, I mean, Nintendo's curating the next mixtape, but after that I'm going to do one that's called Get Off the Grid, and it's going to be all about the groove pool and shuffle and finding the pocket and like just not quantizing shit.
Right. Cool. Love it. That was really clever. Yeah, that was dope.
But yeah, that'll definitely help your snares be sassier.
Yeah. Shit. Let's see. Do you have any advice for building tension without using some of the conventions like risers and like flat
Yeah,
builds?
yeah, for sure. Okay, so well, back to kind of what you were saying about creating this space, okay, and creating this tension. Like tension and negative space are very related, you know.
Uh-huh.
And when you want to create this sort of like ritual vibe, you know, the actual reverbs that you're using are really, really important. If you're in UAD, my favorite reverb of all time, of any reverb, is the AMS RMX 16 reverb,
Okay.
and that's a
Yeah.
UAD reverb.
Right.
That's the reverb made famous by the Phil Collins gated snare.
Uh-huh.
Right, so that's the reverb like from the '80s that does that, and if you can buy these things, and they're it's a digital device from the '80s that is worth more now than when it came out. What other digital device from the '80s can you say that of? But yeah, the algorithms in that reverb are just gorgeous, you know. So, but Valhalla has some excellent reverbs. The Ableton Convolution reverb is definitely worth exploring.
Yeah.
Max for
Okay.
Live. Have you fucked with that one yet?
Yeah. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I just poke around in there. I don't know which fire does what, but
Yeah, here,
poke
let's
around. I like the
let's-
EQ in it.
let's here, I'm gonna just get a click. Oh, here, I'll go back to screen sharing. I'll just show you some stuff you can do with this, because this reverb is very, very cool. Let's get a click sample. I just want to get a nice sharp transient click. Yeah, that one's probably pretty good. Okay, so let's put that in there. And we'll make a boom bap. Or actually, here, let's just do like a clap. And a nice dry one hand clap. Yeah, there we go. Oh wow, it's from that truck. Never alone. Okay, so here's a nice just single impulse clap. And then I'll normalize it. Yeah, okay, great. So now if you go and you go into Max for Live, and you go into the convolution reverb, right? Now this is a real fucking hog, so I will often render these, right?
Yeah.
But what this is going to do when it's in its default mode, right, is hang on, I gotta close this thing, and then it always does that. Okay, when it's in its default mode, you can select these responses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get like kind of your typical thing. But if you go into experimental, right, there's a lot of these. A lot of these are pretty cool. And it's essentially making a new drum sound, right? But
Right.
watch what happens when you go take like, you know, like let's say a kick, right? Let's take this really synthetic kick just so you can see what's happening, right? Oh, wait, and it's not really reverberating very much. I wonder why. EQ's off. Okay, here, let's find something with a little more personality. Yeah, that one's got a bit of personality. Let's try that. Actually, I might have to boost this a little bit with a compressor. Oh yeah, it doesn't like see how that it won't drag after because it's a Max device. It's kind of annoying. Okay. Right. So this kick is now it's convolving the clap through the kick.
Mm-hmm.
So you're mostly hearing the kick. But watch what happens here. I'll take the damping off and the shape off. That might help. Position, you can take it. Okay, so now you can sometimes get like really just like some weird. Yeah, here, this one. Let's do it through this. Right? Oh, these are coming out so quiet. Why are they coming out so quiet? Okay. yeah, like these, if you start convolving through really weird sounds, you can kind of use this to generate like a new drum sound. And if you find like you just start loading things that are not impulse responses. Did I So you just start loading things that are not impulse responses. You can get some really wild shit. It sounds really physical. Oh, I think I just crashed Ableton. Damn it! Yeah, hang on, sorry. Let's try and do that again.
How was the experiment?
Yeah, I think I just crashed Ableton. Yeah, as much as I love Max for Live, it's not really, like, I wouldn't use it on stage. I wouldn't even use a computer on stage these days, but we'll see if my tune changes when I get a new computer. We'll see. But yeah, I had to switch to like CDJs and MPC, and I love DJing with Ableton. It's like my favorite thing.
Yeah, I think maybe the PC will be better. You just got to make sure it doesn't want to update Adobe.
Yeah. Oh yeah, super annoying. Yeah. So for some reason, it's really bringing down the volume, which is weird. But
yeah.
whatever. Let's go to user library. We just go to samples. You just grab. Yeah, so even like putting it through that, like that's a synth sound. Oh, is it fucking crashing again? Oh no. Right, so it'll go as long as the sound. If let's say you go like chord, right, and like convolve it through a chord. Right, so that's giving us a nice clean impulse response because I've loaded in. Yeah, this is a little better because these are. Right, hang on, I gotta close Slack. I'm getting a bunch of business stuff. Right, but you can start convolving it through like crunch. Let's see what happens when we switch. Yeah, let's like this. Taking a load. Yeah, Ableton's not liking me today. Like I said, I'm on my backup computer. But
yeah, no worries.
Just try using the convolution reverb with things that are not impulse responses.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things I've taken away from these two examples too is like abusing things for their unintended use. Like I can't remember when I've ever used that note device, you know, and now I wouldn't have thought to throw a sample into the convolution. These are really,
yeah, it's really cool. I don't know why it's being so fussy today,
but conceptually, it's really eye-opening.
Cool. But yeah, get fussy about your reverbs. If you're trying to create a sense of space and a sense of suspense, negative space is very, very important. And but you don't want just like silence a lot of the time. You want to have like some kind of a reverberation in there.
Yeah.
And if the Ableton default reverb kind of sucks. Like it's just not a great reverb. I love Ableton, but it's just not the best reverb.
Right.
But oh yeah, Ableton's crashing again. All right, I'm gonna close it. Maybe I shouldn't have used the Pro one. I don't know. But yeah, the convolution reverb. You should check out a guy named Diego Stocco. And then he has this pack. It's like a convolution synthesis drum lesson and pack where he has like this system of sends, and he's just running like normal drum sounds through this system of sends with all convolution.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It sounds so crazy. So I often would use his convolution reverb send thing as like a template, and it's really, really cool. But yeah, Diego Stocco is a very interesting sound designer. But part of what makes that space and that suspense is like Lawrence tracks, like less is more, man, big time.
Right.
You know, there's not a whole lot going on in those tracks, but the sounds are really, really striking sounds that have like a really good tone, and you'll be able to get excellent sounds out of your Oberheim for that sort of thing. Like that Oberheim is this tone of that synth is just gorgeous.
It's a pretty simple synthesizer. It just has a sound. It just has a tone. It has a
You're not gonna get a soft synth to sound like that with any amount of processing, you know. And that's the thing I think a lot of people don't understand about hardware synths. Like they'll look at a Moog and they'll be like, oh, well, it's just a low pass filter, you know? And it's like, yeah, but it's not just any low pass filter.
Right.
You know, like they're not all sine waves are created equal. Not all low pass filters are created equal. And the tone that you get out of the like, because there's times when you just want a saw wave with a low pass filter, you know, and like using all of the features of a synthesizer doesn't necessarily make your sound better, you know. And like an Oberheim or a Moog are just gonna sound really, really rich from the get-go. So I suspect Lauren is using a lot of analog synths just from the sound of his.
Yeah,
his
I know.
release.
10 years ago, he had a pretty caveman setup, you know, where he's using samplers and Cubase and just lots of Foley and field recording stuff. But he's evolved into, you know, now you got a little scratch. You know, he's evolved into using some analog synthesizers. I think he has the Oberheim actually, but yeah, but that's cool. That's fun.
But yeah, I definitely, you know, like less is more with suspense. The longer the note, the more dread, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, and, you know, check out, also check out, there's this podcast with this guy. Did you see that movie, The Witch?
Where they have like the upside down
horror movie, absolutely incredible. And in the Patches.zone, I think it's the Patches.zone podcast. Yeah, this one called Apprehension, I think it is. Yeah, here it is. Okay, here's the podcast. You should check out this guy. He made this instrument. It's really fucking cool. I'll see if I, hang on, the Witch sound design. I'll see if there's a video of it. Yeah,
Mark Corvin.
Yeah, this video is fucking insane. This guy, like, okay, so contact mics are really, really cheap.
Yeah.
Like contact mics, you can get a contact mic for like $5.
Those little
right?
piezo things.
Yeah, and basically if you connect them to pretty much any object, you start getting really fucking scary shit. Like my track Marble Madness, I did a lot of that. Here, let's see, Marble Madness.
You just hook it up to like your refrigerator and sample it into like your phone or Zoom thing or.
Yeah, like it. But that's just like a marble rolling around.
Gateway.
Right? And then a lot of those chords are really fucking dissonant chords, right?
Yeah.
And when you're trying to create tension, like in Western music, we're kind of taught that dissonant chords are going to resolve to like a nice like major chord, you know, like here. I'm gonna go load up Ableton again here. But we're taught that, like, we're kind of like, it's expected that dissonant chords are going to resolve. So here, I'm going to just get a scale plug-in here. And then let's see, where's the, like, C major scale, there we go. And then I'm going to get a chord plug-in, and I'm going to make a major chord, which is +4, +7, right? And then let's get just the Ableton Grand Piano instrument rack, keys, Ableton Grand Piano. Okay, so now when I'm playing on my computer keyboard, it's going to be turning into chords, right? So here's the one chord. Oh wait. Hey, oh no, it's a glass piano. I want grand piano. The Ableton Grand Piano is actually a pretty good piano. Right? So that's the one chord, which is major, the two chord, which is the second step, minor, three chord, minor, four chord, major, five chord, major, six chord, also minor, seven chord diminished, and then the So in Western music, we're typically like, and this is why when you're transposing things, plus or minus 5 and 7 are your magic intervals. They get you the 4, the 5, and the 1, right? Because 1 minus 5 semitones is the 5 chord.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 minus 7 is the 4 chord. Right? Just like 1 plus 5 is the 4 chord. And 1 plus 7 is the 5 chord. Right? So pretty much all of pop music, all of like Western music is basically the 4, the 5, and the 1. And you get these chord progressions that are like, or, and that motion of going from the 5 to the 1 or the 4 to the 1, that's like resolving the cadence. It's like, and we're done, right? So your ear naturally just wants to hear that. And if you start like all your chord progressions around the 1, like, because most people will write a song in F, because F is the best bass note, and then they'll make a chord progression that's like, right? And but that sounds really basic, because whenever you hit that 1 chord, it's resolved. That's
Right.
the home chord. End of story. Right?
Yeah.
But if you write your chord progressions like 6, 4, 5, like that sounds like the story can just keep going,
Right.
because it's implying the 1 because you're in that scale, but you're not actually hitting the 1.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the 6, the 5, and the 4, those are like your magic notes in the scale for chords, because that naturally creates a feeling of suspense, because you're waiting for that 1 chord, right?
Does that work in the minor scales too?
Yeah, and then if you go in minor, check it out. Let's go to minor, right? And then let's take flatten the 6 as well, right? When you go up 5 or 7 semitones, the minor chord stays minor, right? So the 5 or the 5 and 7 works whether you're in a minor scale or a major scale,
Okay.
and it's the same thing. You're expecting, or so. That's 6, 4, 5. Again, it creates that feeling of a suspended narrative. And
Yeah.
part of what makes the Beatles songwriting so amazing is they'll have a song where they're fucking just landing on that 5 for so long, and they make you wait, and they're like, you know, and then they'll drop down to the 1 chord, right? Right? So try and use more 5 chords and less 1 chords.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, use more 4, 5, and 6 and less 1. And then another chord that I just fucking love. I don't even know what this chord's called, but it's when you take these 3 notes, the 3, the 4, and the 5. Oh, here, I'll transpose it. Or potentially, like, just take 3 adjacent. Right? Hang on. So I'll put. Let's see. Right? If you have. That's some horror movie shit right there. When you have the 3. Or like the 6, the 5, and the 4. But having this interval, that used to be actually forbidden by the church, to play those 2 notes next to each other.
The devil's interval.
Yeah, totally. And you know, or if you have even the 1, 2, and the 1, 2, and the 3 together, it sounds really good high. Right, let's put a 7 in the bass. Or like, But these chords where you're using adjacent notes, like 3 adjacent notes, they sound really good, especially if you get like a, let's get like a super saw patch. Oh, that's why that's not working. The chord plugin was still on. I was like, why is that sound so... Yeah, this shit. That shit just sounds crazy.
Like it.
Right, so let's put the 5 in the bass. 4. But 4, 5, and 6 together. That's 4, 5, and 6 together. 2, 3, and 4 together sounds really good too. Like, that's just a great fucking chord.
It is.
Right? And that, it's like, you don't know where that's going to resolve to, because what the fuck chord even is that? Like, I guess it's a double suspended chord or something? I don't even know what you call it. But that's like, that's some horror movie shit.
Like it.
Right? So here, listen to Marble Madness again. I've got these, you know, lots of negative space and like this field recording kind of sound with the piezo mic with the marble rolling around. You're like, what is this fucking, am I about to be tortured? Like, what is this fucking sound? And then there's this horror movie chords.
Gateway.
This is more of those weird chords.
Yeah, I like it.
And no hint of resolution.
Yo, man, these jams be kicking, man.
If it make you wanna move, then move.
Right? But yeah,
Like-
so use chords that are like, not, I don't even know what those fucking chords are called, but use lots of like adjacent, like, cause
they're called diminished intervals.
yeah, or something, but whatever these things are, because a lot of people they'll kind of like let's say they're going to use 2 adjacent notes like that, they'll put them like an octave apart, like,
Right. No, that's awesome.
right? But if you put them right fucking next to each other, like, that's just so sour and so like, you don't know where the fuck that's going to resolve to, you know?
Yeah.
So
I was
it
asking
really,
more about risers and stuff, but I could see that like doing like one of those chords with like the filter opening or something would be like really tense.
yeah, definitely. Other things you can do, like let's just get like a clap build, or just like a clap, and I'll just make like a quick little pattern here, and I'll show you some of the things that I like doing. Yeah, here, let's just use this. Okay, so oh, let's kill this piano. We don't need that anymore. So I'll often do risers where it's an effect that's performing the rise, right? So let's take like a reverb, right? Knock the highs and lows out of it and group it. And then I'm gonna go automate this macro here over the course of this build. I don't know if that's worked properly, but it kind of doesn't matter for the purpose of this example. So this is going to go from wet to dry, or from dry to wet. Map that to. Right? And then what happens if we put an erosion on there? Let's do that. And then let's do the frequency on the erosion as well. And look ramp with a macro, and then just start putting that macro to different things. Another thing that sounds really good in this context, I find sometimes the erosion sounds better before the reverb, but let's get like a filter delay in here. I'm going to turn those off and then put it on like a value in milliseconds, right? And I'm going to scrub this value in milliseconds from 1 to like, let's say 50. And then I'm going to put the feedback going slowly up too. Actually, I'll take the reverb off so you can hear what that's doing a bit better. Make sure you have it on repitch. You right click and put it on repitch.
It's on the filter delay.
Right? You see how that's like kind of slowly ramping up?
Can you flip to your screen real quick?
Oh, fuck, sorry. I thought I was screen sharing. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so what I've done is I've just put a reverb, an erosion, and a filter delay, and they're all going to this same macro.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
So you just have a ramp on this macro. So let's go from like 25 to, I don't know, 75 on the delay.
Yeah, on the middle.
You know how to edit that, you know, where you hit map and
yeah.
you edit the maximum. Okay, cool. So this is just the filter delay. Right, now let's add the erosion and the reverb. Not that.
Cool. I love it.
Yeah. And then I'm just mapping different parameters. Right? And just make a ramp and just start mapping things to the ramp. You know, and then you can get like a riser type effect without having that kind of like classic like, oh, the spaceship's taking off now, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like it'll help you to get that sort of an effect without actually having a riser sound.
Cool, I love it. That's great.
Okay, cool. So do you want to? I think if I'm going to check out your tracks, I should probably do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, you can try one. These are just the last few ones I've rendered. I don't even remember what they sound like.
Okay, should I do Cushy or Martha?
Yeah, they're probably not representative of what I'm trying to do. Just
okay.
Asterisk.
That's all good. All right, so Cushy or Martha?
Go Martha, I guess, or whatever you feel. Yeah, either one. You pick.
Pretty cool. That's a fucking great track, dude. That's really good. What's your artist alias?
What's that? I don't really figure that one out yet either. Thinking about going with.
You should definitely submit it because I would totally put that on the compilation. That's a great track.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that surprises me. See, like I hear that, and I don't know. I find it.
You're totally fucking. You're tripping, bro. That's a great track.
Okay, thank you. That's encouraging.
I want to show you one thing that I think might help you, because you have a lot of these sounds with a lot of like reverb and stuff in them. But that track does not sound like a Lauren track. Like that sounds like
no, exactly. It's like
banger.
Yeah,
so,
when I was starting to like I was telling you a little bit of my story to kind of sort of dust myself off. I was kind of listening like when I first got into electronic music, I like the early 2000 dubstep sound, like
a lot of
DMZ and
that shit's awesome.
And because I liked it because it was sinister and minimal, and
that is not a very minimal track.
No, so when I got going again, got a copy of Serum and cymatics drums and all that jazz, and started. I don't know. It's just what came out of everything.
Yeah, that shit sounds cool, man. I'm digging it. So I just want to show you a trick that you can do with reverbs to kind of make your reverby sounds a little tighter. Okay, so I'm just gonna make a little pluck here. Okay, now you get the note length and make it a short little pluck. Okay, so we got a little pluck here.
Okay.
Right? Now, I'm going to go get a reverb. Let's see. I'll just use the Ableton reverb for the sake.
Yeah.
For now. Okay, so we got. Let's put that on high quality. Taking the early reflections off makes the Ableton reverb sound a lot better. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so this is like a pretty, there's a lot of reverb there, and it's kind of washing out the sound. Even if I put the wet dry, it's like washing out the sound a bit, right? So what I like to do is I put it in a group and make it into a wet dry. So you have two chains, or we have one chain right now with the reverb. If you take the reverb, drag it there, now we have two chains. We have the empty chain where the reverb was, which is dry, and then we have this wet chain. Now, if you take take a compressor and put it after the reverb, and then what you want to do is side chain it from the dry signal. Right? And then this is going to make it so that the dry signal knocks the reverb out of the way. And then you get... See? Here, I'll make it really extreme. Right?
Yeah.
So you get that really dry signal every time the sound happens.
Yeah.
Right? So you can get away with using a lot more extreme reverbs if you sidechain the reverb to the dry signal.
Awesome.
And then you only get reverb in the time after the sound happens.
Sound, yeah.
So the sound itself is dry, and then after the sound, you get reverb.
Cool.
Right? So if you do that to your reverbs, it will clean them up a lot. I also like to sidechain my reverb to the click, so that you don't have reverbs punching through all the time, or you don't have reverbs cluttering up your drops. And then I want to show you, let's see if I do it. I think I'm going to try and see if I can find. Yeah, here's a track that I did where I did this trick where basically Oh wait, actually I forget if I don't think I did it on this track. I'm gonna quit Ableton. Uh-oh. Force quit Ableton before it loads that big old track. Okay, so another thing that I like to do is I will actually do a lot more than just sidechain everything to the kick. I will have, are you on Live 10?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go here to, which one of these tracks did I do it on? Yeah, I think I did it on Blackout. So I'll load Blackout. Now this is going to be missing a lot of UAD plugins, so this isn't going to sound like the track. But what I like to do is put everything that is not the drums into a group called sidechain. And then I have another group called punch-ins. And punch-ins, anytime there's something on the punch-ins, it mutes everything on the sidechain using a gate. Okay, so I sidechain the gate and flip the gate and then put it to the most extreme setting so that anytime anything plays on the punch-ins group, it is hard silence from the sidechain group. And when you're doing those like you know, those like one shot like checkerboard basses and stuff or other glitch edits, it'll fucking just mute everything except for the drums.
Okay.
And then you get these really tight checkerboards that it's often really hard to do that when you have like reverbs and blah 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 happening. So look at this group. It's got my bass, it's got my subs, it's got all the melodies, all the sound effects, everything.
Because in Ted you can group groups, right?
Yeah, I used to do this with Ascend.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now, and then look here, this is punch-ins.
Okay.
Right? And if I go to the second half of the track, on this punch-ins track, I essentially just took the mix down for the track and time stretched it 1,000,000. Right? And you can see this is just me just glitching out the track with just extreme time stretching.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm playing with the warp modes and shit to make this like granular mush.
Yeah.
And then I take the best parts of the granular mush, such as this, or this, right, the little shutter. And basically all of those things are going to sidechain out the whole rest of the mix. So we got those little reverses, they mute everything. These sounds.
Blackout, 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 blackout.
Right? So now watch what happens when you put it into the mix. Get these little hiccups.
Yeah.
Right? So I'll do that, and you get like a really nice.
Can I see the device real quick on the group?
Oh yeah. Okay. So it's a gate. It's been sidechained. It's been flipped, and then the floor has been turned all the way down.
Floor is at negative infinity. Flipped. Got it. Okay.
And then that means that every time something comes in there, like, see, it's like hard mutes. So.
Okay. Cool.
Oh wait, I think anyway, it's not receiving unless it's up. But yeah, it does like a hard mute. So that really helps. And then a lot of the time too, I will take the, don't say that. I will take the whole, like after I render my mix down, but before I do my master, I'll take the whole track and do some of these fucking edits, like right to the whole master of the track, right? And then you get these just like this thing. It's been time stretched a million. Plus, it's got the grain size. Plus, here the grain size is being automated.
Yeah.
Who's the bad man? Who's the bad man? Who's the bad man? Who can
I like here. But you just can't get that like crisp, sharp, hard edit any other way, right?
Yeah,
so,
that's dope too. It's all mixed already too, so yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I think your style, you'd probably benefit from that.
Yeah, because I think my criticism of that song that you played of mine, I find it very loopy and repetitive, and it just, I don't know. I need to want to get
those kinds of little like the punch-ins trick, and then some hard edits on the master, and you'll be able to break that up a little. Okay, cool. Any other questions before we go?
No, I think I've eaten up my allotted time, but man, this has been really insightful. I got my gears turning, and I'm really stoked to have access to the dojo, because I'm like I was saying at the onset of the conversation, like I'm in a place now where I can like dive in, and I want to crank out a lot of music, get prolific. And as you heard, like the stuff that you played, I mean, I know how to make stuff. I just want to do my sound now and try to go. Cool.
Well, submit some of your best to the compilation thread, because your tracks are better than you think they are. And
okay.
I would totally like to put one of them out. So give me an artist name and submit your shit in the compilation thread.
Okay. Awesome, man. Okay? Thanks for everything.
You're a great producer, man. Don't stress.
Okay. Thanks, Dylan. I appreciate it.
Okay. Peace out.
For your family time.
Easy.
Later, man.